Everyone going?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. 5, 4. Oh, for fuck's sake. Shut up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast. It's Gav here again, and you're joining us after a Sunderland loss, I guess. We lost 0-0 in the Carabao Cup against Hull City. Finished on penalties. We got beat, but I don't feel too bad about it, so I've convened a few of the lads together and we're going to have a chat and see if everyone's on the same page. And join us today, I've got Bomber. How we doing, mate?
Yeah, good, Gav. Thanks. You all right?
Yeah, not bad. And Gary over in Ireland, how are you?
Brilliant, thanks, Gav. Yeah,
Good man. So yeah, I mean, I do actually feel quite positive after watching that. I don't know about you two lads, but for me, the performance itself was really, really good. I thought on another day we would add 2 or 3 goals at least. But ultimately we couldn't put our chances away, and then came the penalty shootout straight after full time, and we lost it. And to be honest, I'm not really bothered about going out the cup. Bomber, how do you feel about what you watched today?
Yeah, pretty much the same, to be fair, Gav. I said on the preview pod earlier in the week that I would take going out of the cup on penalties as long as we put in a good performance. And I think Paul said something similar. If we were to go out, it was the manner in which we go out. You know, the season being as it is, the fixture list is going to be congested enough anyway. We're not going to win the Carabao Cup, so it's a handful of fixtures that we could quite honestly do without. The performance itself was decent. A little bit toothless up front in terms of the finishing, but some very, very good performances. And like I said, it's one of those defeats, if you like, if we're calling it a defeat, that you can stomach and swallow and actually say, yeah, there's some positives to come out of that.
Yeah, the fixture congestion point's a good one, actually. I noticed that there's going to be 4 game weeks for the AFL Cup in this month. So you're talking about adding an extra 3 games in September. Which we could really do without, I imagine.
Yeah, the good start to the season's a bigger priority.
Exactly, yeah. Gary, what about you then? I mean, we've kind of covered off there that we felt we didn't put our chances away. I mean, how worrying is that? Is it something to be worried about?
it can be worrying. Obviously, goals decide games at the end of the day. You know, we played fantastic as far as I'm concerned. The amount of chances we created was positive. There was a slight change to the formation as well, as far as I could see. I think it looked as though O'Brien was playing up with Grigg, with Maguire kind of roaming behind them as opposed to anything else. And then George Dobson playing that bit deeper behind them. So at least it's not just more of the same. You know, at the end of the day, he's gone away from the 4-3-3. That kind of, it worked to a certain extent last season. But, you know, it was nice that there was a slight change because, again, even in pre-season, he was very 4-3-3 with it. But I'm really positive, really, really positive after today, considering it was a 0-0 draw. I suppose chances created, there was probably more today than we've seen in a game for quite a while. So that's a positive. But yeah, to go back to what you were saying, if we can get somebody who can actually put the ball in the back of the net, we'll be absolutely flying.
I could listen to you say 4-3-3 all day. Well, I know you say that about putting the chances away. Will Grigg had a couple, not too much, I would say, but he did okay today. Bomber, what I mean, how are you feeling about the striker situation? Obviously, O'Brien looks quite busy, but he doesn't look like an all-out finisher. He looks like somebody who's more of a foil for a Grigg type. I mean, how worried should we be about that? Is it something to be worried about?
It's starting to be. You know, we only scored 1 against Harrogate. We failed to score today. All right, the 2 games before that, we scored 3, but they're against opposition that you'd expect to score at least 3 goals against. I think the important thing that for me to take away from Grigg today is that he put the ball in the back of the net. All right, he was offside. I'm not sure whether it was offside, to be honest. I've only watched it back on the one replay on the stream, but you know, he's found the back of the net with an attempt which didn't count.
It was a good finish, though. Actually,
it was a good finish. Yeah, it was a little bit more Grigg-esque, as we hoped he'd be. But yeah, in terms of O'Brien, again, he worked hard. He did that sexy little pirouette in the middle of the park,
and just before that, took Honeyman out the game with a little shimmy, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's clearly a very, very tidy player, but you're right. He's not going to be the 15, 20 goal a season man, I don't think at this stage that is what we need. And essentially has been the difference between us going up and not for the last 2 seasons. So yeah, then you question whether Danny Graham's going to be that person.
Oh God, don't say that name, please.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. But I'm not convinced at the minute that combination of Grigg, Wyke, Graham, and O'Brien is going to provide enough goals. Like I said, it's early days, and I stand to be corrected, and I'll hold my hands up if so. But in terms of the play, the all-round play, the striking play, it was a lot better.
Yeah.
Grigg seemed a lot more interested, and his movement was good. He seemed a little bit sharper. He did seem quite slow. There was a couple of balls he ran in behind where he seemed to be running in treacle a little bit. But I was much more pleased with Grigg today than I have been in the last season and a half of having him.
As Bomber said there, after the pirouette from O'Brien as well, when he turned into Lionel Messi, he set Grigg away, and Grigg, to follow on what you said, looked very, very slow, to be honest with you. Although fitter looking and working harder, he looked quite slow on the breakaway.
What did you make of the defensive performance? I know we've talked a lot about the attack there, Gary, but the defence seemed pretty organised today, I would say. I think Bailey Wright had a good game. There was one moment for me where he nearly ended George Honeyman's career when he kind of it was a heavy touch from Honeyman and he absolutely thundered through the ball and took Honeyman with him. And Willis quite good on the ball, carrying it out. Flanagan not so great, but to be fair, there's me dog. Not so great with bringing the ball out and doing his thing. But I mean, otherwise did all right, didn't we, at the back?
Yeah, absolutely, very solid. It was quite refreshing to see how comfortable, I suppose, Bailey Wright and Jordan Willis are on the ball again. It's been a long summer, and obviously we're used to, from previous years, having the likes of Baldwin or Flanagan having it at their feet, and you kind of have a little heartbreaking moment every time they touch the ball. Where with the lads that are there now, I suppose it's far more reassuring. And then I think having O'Nien and Hume at the wing back positions as well, although they track back when needed, it's fantastic having them with the ability to go forward too.
Yeah, Bailey Wright's an absolute. He looks like he's going to be a Rolls Royce of a defender at this level, doesn't he?
Just keep him fit. Just need to keep him fit.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I did think Flanagan. He still worries me. He does give his all. You can't deny that. There's a couple of times he went flying into tackles, but when he's on the ball, if you've got a quick player closing him down, he just panics. He just panics, and there's a couple of times he gave the ball away in potentially quite dangerous positions. So that does worry me. But I think on the whole, as a defensive unit, I think we were very, very good. I don't think really Hull ever looked like scoring today. No. It was just whether or not we could finish our chances. I did like the formation. So it was quite clearly a 3-5-2, but it was quite fluid in that it never dropped back into like a 5-3-2. So what you were finding is that either one of the fullbacks, depending on which side of the pitch we were on, either O'Nien or Hume was going out and pressing the ball, and then one of the left or the right centre back was pushing out as a fullback, and then the other wing back was dropping in to be the other fullback. So it was almost a back four when we were defending, with one of the wing backs going on to press the ball, which I thought was good. It was nice just to see something different than just, okay, we've lost the ball, let's sit back to a flat back five and try and win it back.
Yeah. I actually quite enjoyed watching the little battle between Hume and Emmanuel on the left hand side. To be fair, I think the whole fullback came out better of that. But Denver did have a good go at him, and I mean it's nice to see somebody finally match him for pace at this level, because more often than not he just toasts the fullbacks at this level because they're not of that build. But yeah, not a bad performance really across the back, and we have obviously got Arbonnet Jamali to come into the team. I hope I got that right at some point. So yeah, good signs, I guess. What I want to move on to actually is player ratings. So I thought we'd drop this in on the reaction pod today. We're going to go through, take a player at a time. We'll go. I don't know. We'll start with Gary, then you, Bomber, then me. We'll take a player each, and we'll give them a rating out of 10 and explain why. So starting at the top, Lee Burge. Bomber, how do you think he played?
I don't. He wasn't really tested, to be fair, so it's difficult to say. There were a couple of times where he was under a little bit of pressure with kicks, and he's kicked it out of play for a throw in inside our own half. But other than that, he didn't really put a foot wrong. There was one incident, actually, saying that in the second half, where I think Hume played a ball back, and he got in a bit of a mix-up with Bailey Wright, and they almost kind of snuck in behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing spectacular, but nothing particularly wrong. You know, it's a solid 6, I guess.
Yeah. A little bit shaky with his kicking, but otherwise all right.
Yeah.
Denver Hume, Gary, where do you mark him out of 10?
There was a couple of times Denver, he was solid as far as I'm concerned, but a couple of times he had some really, really, really nice interplay himself, Max Power, and I think it was O'Brien had a lovely kind of neat little exchange that set Hume away, that he then had a lovely cross in. Now the cross went to the penalty spot, but there was nobody there, but it was just really, really nice play. I suppose I'd go with a 7 or an 8. I suppose mid-7s for Denver today. I thought he was very tidy.
Yeah, I'll pick up with Tom Flanagan. To be honest, I think I'll probably go more towards a 6 again with Flanagan. Again, it would be difficult to mark anyone lower than a 6 in the defence for considering we kept a clean sheet. But of the 3 centre halves, probably not the best performance. And to be honest, I'm expecting him to become now either a backup player or a utility player covering different positions, because I think it's quite clear and obvious that we've brought in Jamali to play left centre half. So yeah, next player, Bailey Wright, Bomber.
He's a solid. He's going to be, again, I don't think he was ever really under an awful lot of pressure, but that job he did on Tom Eaves before he went off injured, I think was pretty good. You could see Eaves was getting pretty frustrated, and Bailey Wright just basically had him on toast for that whole first period that he was on.
So we'll just give him a 12, Bomber.
Yeah. So a clean sheet, and a solid performance, and you could see he just organised and commanded not just the back 3 or 5, but also good communication with Burge as well. So I'd be happy to give him an 8.
Yeah, Jordan Willis, Gary.
Willis today again, going forward, he was quite good. In defence, everybody was solid, as we said. So there was nothing spectacular that Willis done that really, really stood out to get any higher than a 7, I suppose. But solid enough that you can't go any less than a 7.
He did have that wayward shot as well, didn't he? Remember in the first half?
Yeah.
The one that looked like it may have been deflected, but just wasn't. It was just a really poor shot. Yeah.
Luke O'Nien, I'm probably going to give him a 6. I think, to be honest, I thought he was poor going forward, but you can never fault his effort, and I thought defensively he did okay. I just wish sometimes he was better in the final third, because he does a great job of getting in behind and linking up with the midfielders. It's kind of always that 1-2, putting him in behind, and then once he gets in behind, sometimes his crosses are a bit tame, or he really hasn't really got the ability to deliver on it. So yeah, probably a 6 from Luke O'Nien, I would say.
It's a strange one with him, isn't it? Because he's clearly got the brain for it, because he gets himself into those positions, but he just lets himself down sometimes in that final ball or that in that final third.
Yeah, not always though, because like I say, he does get his fair share of assists or second assists. He does get involved in the goals, but I mean, yeah.
He would have scored after 15 minutes with that free kick. The free kick that was crossed in.
Header. Yeah, I forgot about that. Moving into midfield then, Max Power, he was captain today. How do you rate him, Bomber?
Yeah, captain's performance was solid. It seemed that anything, a lot of our good stuff went through him. I think him and Denver paired up pretty well. That partnership was pretty good. Anything, certainly in the first half, the majority of chances that we created and times we got into Hull's box was through Denver via Max Power. He, again, didn't really put a foot wrong. I can't remember him giving the ball away too many times unnecessarily. So he's a solid high 6, low 7 for me. I'll go as far as a 7. Yeah,
and I think you've got to note his penalty as well. It was a good penalty.
It was a good pen.
God, who played next? George Dobson, Gary.
Yeah, I thought Dobson was solid today. He was playing a little bit deeper. He had a couple of really, really nice outlet passes out wide. Obviously, he did have the one chance that he nearly left us tight at the back. He had a wayward kind of touch at the edge of the box that led to a fast break that thankfully, who was it took one for the team? Denver Hume ended up coming across and fouling.
Yeah.
So to pull the play back. But with Dobson, I suppose 6 to a 7 as well, probably on the lower 6s. But he's always impressive with his passing. He's a different level of kind of passing for the league that we're in. For his age, he's very kind of composed with looking for wide passes. So yeah, I suppose 6 to a 7.
Yeah, some of his diags were good today, I thought, and I'm not like a massive fan of George Dobson, I'll be honest, but yeah, today I think he did okay.
He does look a lot better in that deeper position where he's able to pick up the ball and have a little bit more time on it, doesn't he?
Yeah. Tip of the midfield was Chris Maguire, playing as a Roman kind of playmaker. To be honest, I don't think he was in the game a great deal. Early doors he was, anyways. He got on the ball and tried to move the ball around, but I mean, as the game wore on, he kind of petered out in the second half, I think. So I think I'll give him a 6. But I would have kept him on the pitch with penalties in mind. That's one thing we didn't get onto when we were talking about the game earlier, but I just found the substitutes really strange today. Just the timing of them waiting until the 75th minute. I don't know whether that was just with fitness in mind or what. But yeah, Maguire coming off after 75 minutes when we're heading into penalties does seem a little strange to me. But yeah, so 6 out of 10 for Chris Maguire. Next up, Aidan O'Brien playing up top. How do you rate him, Bomber? I think he did okay today.
He did okay, yeah. So I think he would be, again, he did really well without really, well, he should have got on the score sheet. He's one of the few that should have got on the score sheet today. But his work and his endeavour up front, I think he was a good foil for Will Grigg, and I think Will Grigg's improved performance was down to him having someone up top with him. Like I said, you can see he's got a lot about him. He's a good footballer. He's comfortable on the ball. He closed down well, and just for that pirouette alone, that brings him up a point. So he's a 7 again for me.
Yeah, his movement seems on another level. Maybe Wyke, So yeah, I did enjoy watching him today. And finally, Will Grigg, Gary.
Yeah, I thought Will Grigg done pretty well today, to be honest with you, for all the stick that he gets. He had the ball in the back of the net. I know you mentioned once earlier, but he had the ball in the back of the net twice, actually. There was one within a couple of seconds, wasn't there? I think there was an offside or a foul from O'Nien, and Grigg nodded in.
Of course, I forgot he put that one in. Yeah, a
couple of seconds in. But, you had the other chance there where he was pressuring defenders, he looks interested, like we said. He won the ball back, and there was a little cross into O'Brien. It was just slightly too high. Where I think if it had been rolled across on the ground, it would have been a tap in for O'Brien to score. It was probably, I think it was 25 minutes in. So for all the stick that he gets, I suppose an 8. It might be a little bit high considering he didn't register a goal anyway. But I suppose it would be fair, I suppose, to go high 7s, 8s.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Like I said, they might not have counted, but he's had the ball in the back of the net twice.
Yeah.
He worked his socks off.
Yeah, I forgot about when I was talking about O'Brien as well. That 1-on-1 that he missed was a bit ghastly, wasn't it?
Dragged it wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be at least getting those on target, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'll rate the subs in. I didn't think Wyke or Gooch did anything great when they came on, so I'll give them both 5s. I mean, Gooch, the one moment he had where he should have done better was that pass in behind to Denver Hume. It was just far too hard. No, it wasn't really weighted very well at all, and could have changed the game had he have played a decent pass. Wyke, just too soft. I mean, I know it's not much to go off in 15 minutes or so, but the difference between him and O'Brien in that role as a secondary striker, holding the ball up, etc., just different gravy for me. O'Brien today, and Wyke maybe there was one where somebody went through the back of him far too easily, and he. Yeah, I wish he was a lot stronger. That he looks like a big lad, but he just doesn't put his head about enough. So yeah. Two 5s for me. Man the match then. I'm gonna sit on the fence and wait and see what you two lads say. Yeah.
Go on then, Gary. You go first.
Nah. Oh. I'll stick me oar in. Go on then. I'll say. O'Brien played well, Grigg played well, but yeah, I'm stuck, if I'm honest. Bailey Wright, probably for me. Just kept a clean sheet. His first, I think he played a full 90, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
And just to me, in a game where there wasn't many real standout performances, I wouldn't say. I think Bailey Wright was probably top of that list for me. So yeah, Bailey Wright gets my man the match. What about you, Gary?
Yeah, well, look, Bailey Wright, his composure is just next level for the league that we're in, So it would either be Bailey Wright or potentially, like I said, Will Grigg. And no, I'm not a massive fan. I probably sound like a fanboy today, but have to give it to him. Give him the credit where credit is due. He worked his socks off. So Bailey Wright or Will Grigg today.
You got to pick one or the other. You can't just say you can't have two
Right,
man
we'll
matches.
go with Will Grigg. We'll split the difference.
Right, so it's one vote for Greg.
I'm going to split the difference, or not split the difference, but throw a couple of different names in there. So for me, I think on first half performance, Denver Hume would be my man of the match. Everything good that we did tended to go through him, and he was pretty on it in that first half. But overall, I'd also say Dobson in that slightly deeper role deserves a credit as well. So I'd probably give it to one of them. If I had to get off the fence, then I would probably say Denver Hume would be mine.
Interesting. So we can't decide then. We'll leave it up to people
No,
listening,
basically.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a wrap for the reaction pod. So thanks, lads, for joining us. I'm sure people listening will have their own thoughts on what we've just said there, but I mean, yeah, pretty solid performance from Sunderland today, and gives me a little bit of hope that going into the season we're going to be competing, because to be honest, when I saw the whole team at the start of the day, I was a little bit worried, because I thought, well, that's a good side, and we kind of played them off the park regardless of what happened in the end. So yeah, thanks for joining us, lads. It's been a pleasure. If everybody listening could go over to iTunes and give us a rating, that would be lovely. Subscribe on YouTube, whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on, and of course join us through the week, as I think we've got a couple of player interviews coming, and also the preview show ahead of next weekend's action. Who we're playing next weekend? Does anyone want to remind us? Is it Bristol
Rovers.
Yeah.
Bristol, yeah.
So we've got the Bristol Rovers game next week. All the build up to that will be coming midweek, and of course go on to ROKERRAPPORT.com as the week progresses, as we've got plenty coming. So Bomber, thanks for joining us.
Nice one. Cheers, Gav. Thanks very
And
much.
Gary, thank you very much, and we will catch you all down the road.